on the News Channel 5 network. This is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris with you on this Tuesday. Appreciate you as always being with us. We have a good show on tap for you. I want to remind you this morning we're coming to you on News Channel 5 Plus, Cable Channel 250 on a lot of different providers, but check and see where you are on that. We'll get the phone number up so you can join us by phone if you'd like. Also this morning we are streaming live on Facebook at newschannel5.com and News Channel 5 Plus, and we'll take your questions and comments there as I'll be checking that throughout the program. And today I want to say that based on some of the recent developments and some of what we see happening in our community, it ties in very well with a new initiative here that we're doing at News Channel 5. It's called the Rebound, and we have a Rebound team of reporters. All of our reporters will be doing stories along the lines of Rebound, but some, like myself, Phil Williams, and others, are specifically going to be doing stories with regard to the rebound. What does it mean? It's when we start rebounding from the pandemic. We're going to tell stories of recovery, of hope, of how things are going, maybe some of the businesses that are out there and how they're coming back, and information, I think, specifically as it pertains to you in the rebound, be it anything from details you need to know about the stimulus or whether there's going to be more money coming your way, to how you maybe get by with unemployment or whether or not your job is coming back, and when it's safe to go back to work or to a restaurant. And that is tying in with our show this morning as we talk about the rebound with our guest. It's Metro Vice-Mayor Jim Shulman has been joining us in studio, safely separated from me for the past several weeks, and I really appreciate you coming on this morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it's good to be back. I was here, last Wednesday, and so it gives us a chance to kind of catch up and see where we are. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've said, it's been a week and a lot of things have changed. And we talk about the rebound, and I think the governor himself is on that front. You can quibble whether or not it's too early, too late, or just right. But yesterday he made the announcement that he expects to have his safer at home order lifted by May 1st, which will allow some 89 counties across the state to have restaurants open and other things. He says it'll go slowly in stages, but I wanted to ask you, as the vice mayor here in Metro Nashville now, and I know we'll hear more from the mayor himself at his news conference later, how does this square? The governor makes this announcement, but when it comes to specific municipalities, especially a city the size of Nashville, what does that mean, and how will this city take what he has started yesterday?
So if you look at the executive order, he left 6 counties with the ability to basically say they can work internally with their health departments in conjunction with the governor's office to try to figure out when they can open. So if you remember, and it hadn't been that long ago, Nashville, Davidson County actually went safer in place before the governor put safer in place across the state of Tennessee. So based upon my understanding of Davidson County law, we have the ability to actually, through the health department, to actually close things down, to be safer in place. That's why we were able to go first in this case. We'll see what the mayor says. I know he's going to be on at 9:30 on his regular daily press conference. But then we'll see what he plans to do. Right now, I believe his safer in place order stays in place until April the 24th. He hasn't extended to April the 30th, which is where the governor is. But after April the 30th, in conjunction with what the governor said yesterday, I believe that Nashville can actually stay safer in place, if that's what the mayor and the head of the Department of Health says, for a while longer. You know, I don't know exactly why the governor, picked the 6 areas. I mean, I basically know, and that's because there's lots of big cities in those areas, and there's a lot more people there. He picked those 6. Obviously, Nashville-Davidson County is one of those, and we have a lot of more people centralized, and that's what the concern is.
All right, let me ask you this then, as vice mayor, and if you get these calls, and I know you're very accessible and you hear from your constituents, and maybe you can just give me your take from what you observe in this city, and when they call you and say, maybe, look, I've seen what the governor has said, but I still have maybe some apprehensions about getting back to business as usual. You know, you're my vice mayor. I'm thinking, my favorite restaurant's probably going to open May 1st or 2nd, maybe a little crowded. I have some apprehension about going. I mean, what kind of advice are you giving people? Is it time to go back to a crowded restaurant now?
Well, so it doesn't mean you're going to go back to a crowded restaurant. So I think the governor made it clear yesterday in what we saw was that there's going to be stipulations along the way for this week before we get to next week and April 30th, May 1st. I think they're going to have to, he was, in listening to him, he was being very careful about saying you've got to maintain social distancing. There's certain health protocols. I know that he opened up the free testing over the weekend. So there's going to be different things applied to this opening. I don't think you're going to see everybody just go running back out. First of all, I think people, at least watching what's happened in Nashville, people have been pretty good about being careful. Just because we open up April 30th, May 1st, or a little bit later in the case of Nashville, doesn't mean that the virus has gone away. It's still out there. So we have to be careful. What we don't want to do, and I think what people need to be reminded of, is if and when everything starts opening up, and I believe it'll probably be phased in anyway, so you can't go to your favorite restaurant that's really crowded. You may be able to go to your favorite restaurant, and it may be limited about how many people can be in there.
Sure, okay.
The key, I think, is, look, we've just spent the last month trying to deal with this, and in some cases, more than the last month in terms of people staying in home, being careful, not going out, only going out for essential reasons, only essential workers. I don't think anybody necessarily wants to go back to that. I know I don't when we open back up. But if we're not careful, Nick, I mean, if this thing didn't go away, again, I think people need to remember that. It's still out there. If we just go rushing out the door and people start getting sick again, we could be at a different place
and
again.
that's some of the concern as I'm looking at some of the comments here on Facebook that are coming in, and others. I think a lot of people understand and sympathize with the desire to get back to work. There's so many people that want to get back to their jobs. They're missing paychecks. I get it. I get that completely. But others are saying, you know, you're right. People can choose on their own how to do these things, but you know as well as I do, strong leadership makes a huge difference.
Right.
And if you have a leader that's been elected, that's respected, that is saying, look, we still need to do this, there's still an issue, fine, I think people listen to that. And when you have a leader saying, listen, I'm going to lift the stay-at-home order, but it'll be phased in. Specifics, I don't know how that's going to work, whether or not a restaurant chooses on its own to shoo people out, or maybe decides, well, the governor says it's okay, I'm going to let as many people in as I want. I personally don't trust people always to make the decision that's best for themselves. They sometimes need some guidance from leadership, and so people worry. You know, you say, well, we'll still be doing this. Well, really? Without an order in place? You really believe that's going to happen?
Well, so we're going to have some guidelines, and then we're going to have to follow them, and if we don't follow them, what are we going to do? Look, you know, I listen to Mayor Cooper. I believe in him. I listen to Governor Lee. I believe in him. Forget the politics of this thing. This is, I think, what you said was right. This is when you're looking for leadership. I very much appreciate the fact that they have press conferences every day to get this information out. Yeah. The big question after this will be, will people continue to try to abide by social distancing? Look, I know as well as you probably do the same thing. If I'm out or if I run in, and I'm not out that much, but obviously we still have council meetings going on and other things, and you know, if you go and take care of an essential need like going to the grocery store, I am very cognizant of the fact that I'm supposed to be staying 6 feet away from everybody.
I know,
and if somebody breaches that space, I back up.
But have you seen, Jim? I mean, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, I tune in every morning to the mayor's news conference, and you know, I'm listening to the medical experts, and you know, they keep giving us the count. And every 24 hours, there's another minimum 3 or 4 dozen new cases, which is to be expected with testing. I mean, I haven't seen that slow down in Metro yet.
Right.
And I know what you're saying. You say you see people doing the social distancing, but I mean, first of all, as I've said, I understand the concern about getting back to work, but you looked at some of the protesters that were out on the state capitol here in Metro over the weekend. There wasn't distancing there. You go to almost any large box store, especially in the gardening section on the weekend, doesn't exist. And that's with an order in place. And there's still people not doing it. You lift that order, or you say get back to business, I'm just concerned that we're going to see an increase in cases. And if that happens, we're going to be back at square one. I want to get back to business. I want to make sure it's safe enough to get there so that we don't step backwards. Because if that happens, going back to square one, that is going to be a mess for everyone.
All right. So the only, you know, it's everybody's responsibility to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, I saw the crowds over the weekend at the Capitol. They were not practicing social distancing. They're taking a risk, not only for themselves, but if somebody actually was there and they started spreading it, they go back, they have an older parent that has health conditions. They could cause serious health problems for other people. So, you know, I'm okay with the fact that they protested. That's what's great about this country. But it would have been better if they had actually practiced social distancing and stayed away. That would have shown that, you know, they had a point to be made, but they were also understand the seriousness of this thing. I understand there may be people out there who still don't understand how serious this is, but we know people who have been sick. There have been 20 deaths. This could get so much worse if we're not careful. Now, Nick, what we haven't seen yet are people being picked up or arrested or stopped. Nobody wants to get to that point.
Right.
But you know, I get calls from people who are going like, I just drove by a park and there's a basketball game going on, or there's people congregating or whatever. Those people, maybe we have to post signs in parks and say, keep 6 feet away. It's up to the employers to try to keep their employees, if they come back to work, protected, keep everybody 6 feet away. Their customers, certainly if I was a business, I don't think I would want to get a reputation of having my customers all get in at the same place and take the risk that somebody's going to get sick. No, I would never want that. So you're going to have to put up safeguards, you're going to have to practice good social distancing, good health protocols, good sanitation. Then maybe we get there. We'll see where we go. There's a lot of information to come.
Well, listen, we'll take a break. There's a lot more to talk about, and as we go to the break, Stacy makes a good point here. She just says either shut it down and enforce it or open it up, okay? And that's extreme on either side, but to me, doing it, you know, just partial or piecemeal does nothing, okay? If one county shuts down and the other doesn't, and we know people travel between two, it doesn't. It has to be uniform. And so if you're not going to do it, then I guess just open it up and let the chips fall where they may. But, you know, I think one way or the other, we're going to see how this plays out. And the politicians that make these calls one way or the other will have to live with their judgments after the fact. And yes, people will be looking and seeing what decisions were made and whether they were the right ones. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take more of your calls. We haven't started with those, but we've got some waiting for Vice-Mayor Jim Shulman, as well as your comments as we continue to get them right now on Facebook. We're streaming live at newschannel5.com. Back with more right after this.